real quick. And yeah, this is wow. We have 110 guest speakers on our checklist. We have 382 members who have landed jobs, and we are now at 3,000 plus members, and that is increasing. God bless Danny, and God bless everybody else who volunteers here. That's incredible. We are rising. Well, Chester, I'm going to leave it to you, brother.
All right.
Yeah, tell us what you got.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Do you have to keep the slide sharing up, or can you take it down?
You can share. Yeah.
No, I mean, can you stop sharing?
Yeah.
Is that your sharing? Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, so I do a lot of online sessions, and every time I see a slide, my brain just stares at the slide and I completely miss what the person is saying. So if you could take the slide down, that would be great. So still up there for me. Is everyone seeing it?
Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
there.
it's still there. Yeah, so give us a chance to get it down for you. But he's working on it, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
You can
So
always unshare, I guess, for the time being.
What's that?
I said who's ever sharing can always unshare for the time being. That might be easier.
How about now?
There you go.
Oh, right. Yes. Thank you. Hey, now I
Yes,
can
sir.
see everybody. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I just a quick background before we get into the key question for today. And just thank you, Adam. Thank you, Carlo, and everyone else for having me. I've actually stumbled upon AHF about a year ago. And when I was laid off and joining different communities of job seekers. So I went to quite a few sessions last year and met some awesome people. And then I pivoted it what I was working on for a while. But during that time, I had met Jake and had a great one-on-one with him. And he suggested that I come on to AHF as a speaker. So I was like, sure, why not? So really honored that you guys would have me here. And I know, it's a beautiful day in June up here. You probably don't want to be here, but great to see you all. Yeah, so a quick bit of background. I've been laid off 3 times in my life. I'm proud to say that. So I'm speaking from experience, not from fiction. And so I used to be a software engineer out of college, did that for a decade, decided I was tired of engineering and I really would like to check out the business side of things. So I went back to school, got an MBA, and did some marketing for 4 years. After that, I thought, marketing is just too boring for me. So I probably have ADD, I think. I like doing different things. So sales was just more exciting, it's competitive and all that. And so I've been doing sales for the last maybe 13, 14 years. During that time, I mainly focused on what it's a field called sales enablement, which really is a fancy word for sales training. And that means whenever a company hires a new sales rep, I train them, I onboard them, I make sure they're successful. And what makes it really interesting is that in my career, I have probably hired more than 100 people across sales, marketing, and other functions. I've probably interviewed way more than that, 5x, 10x more. And I've learned a lot in that process. And I feel like there's something I can share from that perspective. And the other thing I just want to share is that after I got laid off a year and a half ago, in Massachusetts, you have to apply for unemployment insurance payments. And to do that, you have to do 3 job search activities a week and document it. So it means you can apply to 3 jobs, you can go to 3 networking events, you can do 3 of anything job related. So at that time, if you recall a year and a half ago, AI was still kind of new. So I just let me just get ChatGPT to write my resume for me and tweak it every time. So like a lot of people out there, maybe you guys have probably all done that to some degree. Tinker with it, see if it works or not. And I decided to turn it into an app and use the app to do it for me. No, yeah, the funniest thing is my sister-in-law at that time, she got laid off and she's like, "Oh, Chester, I hear you made an app. Can I try it?" I was like, "Sure, you can try it. I don't care." And she used my app to get a job in a week. And I was like, "I can't believe you got a job in 1 week." And I told Adam in our one-on-one that my sister-in-law is extremely charming. She can probably get a job even without a resume. But anyways, good for her. And so things just start to turn in my mind. Hey, maybe I can do something that can help a lot more people other than my sister-in-law get a job. And at that point, I decided to not pursue a corporate career anymore because personally, I was really burnt out by the whole corporate lifestyle and the demands that my manager had on me and wasting time at work that I just kind of got burnt out and a little jaded about the corporate environment. So I decided to go solo, which has been a dream of mine ever since I went to business school. It's like I want to start a company, I want to start a business, I want to be my own boss. Some of the same thoughts that you guys might have had. So now my app is a job search app called Hirecarta, and I will do a little demo of it later. That is my full time, and I'm the only person involved with it. So it gives me a lot of pleasure to be really putting into practice a lot of the things that I had learned when I was a hiring manager and I worked with recruiters, and also when I was laid off and I had to look for a job 3 times in my career. So that's sort of my overall background, and I'm from the Boston area. And so to answer the question, like, what is the one thing that job seekers might want to know that they don't already know? And I think what I'd like to talk about today for a couple minutes is the other side of the fence, which is the recruiter and a hiring manager. So I hear so much frustration when I've attended other AHF events. And like today, right? Yeah, Adam, you're talking about just feeling like you did a lot of things, but not much happened. That type of frustration. The same frustration happens on the other side of the fence. So let me tell you what really happened and happens a lot. Is that so a recruiter, if you know the job of recruiters, usually there is a junior recruiter, and then there's a more senior recruiter, and then there's a hiring manager, a typical path, right? The junior recruiter at a company, what they do is they're looking on LinkedIn, they're looking at all these sources, just trying to find bodies who might be potential candidates. So that's when they might be going to LinkedIn and search for the keyword Workday. And let me just hoover up everyone who mentioned Workday in their profile. I think someone mentioned that at Crystal maybe. And just let me just dump a bunch of people into my pipeline and start contacting them. So that's a job of a junior recruiter, right? Just build a pipeline of names. That's step one. Step two is the senior recruiter looks at this pile of stuff, and oftentimes, right, the company will post a job description. The senior recruiter looks at that pile and go, all right, who should I screen? People are busy. There's only 8 hours in a working day. The senior recruiter can't screen 20, 30 applicants for one job. They can only screen maybe 4 or 5. And so they have to be really, really picky about who they screen. And the way it works, and this is the thing that I think a lot of people don't know, is that I was a hiring manager at many different companies. And just think about everyone, you guys all had professional jobs. We all know how busy jobs can get. And a lot of times when you have a rec to fill, because someone left the job or someone just really screwed up and needed to be let go, the act of hiring another person is a tremendous burden on a hiring manager. They'd rather not be doing that. They'd rather be doing their regular jobs, that they're paid for. So hiring is absolutely not on most people's job description or their radar. So when a hiring manager has to hire someone, it's a chore, it's a pain, they hate it. They just want someone they can trust to fill in the spot of the person that had just left, right? That's all they want. And yet we turn it into this really complicated song and dance between the applicant and the recruiter and the hiring manager. And that's why everyone is frustrated. And you hear that at AHF, you hear that when you talk to other recruiters, You hear that talk to the hiring managers. So the thing that you want to understand, I really want to get this point across, is that as frustrated as you might be, the recruiter and the hiring manager are also really frustrated because they get low quality candidates. They get people who ghost them. Like you feel like you get ghosted. There's been many times a recruiter is saying they're waiting for the applicant to show up to an interview and they don't. It's like, whoa, what happened? So the same thing happens on the other side, right? And the key thing about the hiring manager is that I mentioned they are really busy people. So when I made job postings to post online, I would always grab another hiring manager's current job posting, cut and paste it, look at the top 3 or 4 bullets, maybe 5 bullets, and just rewrite those. The rest of it is boilerplate. I don't even touch those. So you look at a job description, you go, oh my gosh, I got 20 qualifications. How on earth can I do them all? Really, you just need to do the first 4 or 5, and you are good if you can hit those. And those are the most important ones. So that's like point number 1, right? I want you to remember when you look at a job description, focus on the top ones, don't focus on the bottom ones. Just like your resume, focus on the last job in your resume. Don't focus on the 5th job down on your resume. You're wasting your time. Nobody looks at it. I don't look at them. My recruiters never look at them. They look at your last job and maybe the job before that. Still with me? All right. So that is the hiring manager's perspective is that. The second key thing about the hiring manager's dynamic with the recruiter is that a recruiter, they have to fill probably 5 to 10 jobs simultaneously. That's their bucket of work, right? And so a recruiter is being bombarded by 5 different hiring managers all saying, where the heck is my candidate? Why did you schedule an interview for me? All this stuff, right? Hiring managers are demanding because they want this job filled. So the recruiter is like, how can I work faster? Well, I work faster by going through the pile of resumes in my ATS, and let me just filter out as quickly as I can. So a recruiter will glance at your resume. Just if something catches their eye, they will stop and look at it. If nothing catches their eye, they will go on because there's another resume and another resume, another resume, right? So the key thing for you as a job seeker is you have to stand out at the very beginning of your resume. If you don't have a headline on your resume or your summary at the top isn't compelling, no one's going to read the rest of it. And unfortunately, I've seen too many people either missing the critical parts of their resume or they spend so much time on the bottom part of the resume that never, ever gets read. So that's a key thing. How you spend your time is so critical. And the way I kind of advise anyone who comes to me is that, you know, when you read a newspaper, you know, whatever newspaper you pick up, you know, off the street, or now everyone reads news online, you see a headline. That headline has to be attention grabbing, else you're not going to read that article, right? And then let's say you like the headline, you read the article. Well, you read the first paragraph of the article. If that first paragraph is not interesting, you're not going to read the rest of the article. So think about your resume exactly like it is a newspaper article. First thing doesn't grab attention, it's not going to get read. The first paragraph, no attention, not going to get read. Just go down it that way. You have to look at it through the lens of someone who has a pile of stuff to read. Why are they going to read yours? If you look at your resume and you cannot answer the question, why would they read yours? You got to start over, throw it away and just start over and get someone else to help you. So that's really key thing. And I would say the last thing that I want to mention is that if you do get noticed and you get a screening call, a recruiter's job is to screen people out and identify maybe 3 candidates that that the hiring manager will want to talk to. So what is the real dynamic going on here? Let's kind of go back a little bit, right? I'm the hiring manager. I have a seat to fill. I talk to my recruiter. Maybe I only see the recruiter once every few years. because it's not often there's a seat to fill, except in sales where people are churning all the time. But I have to explain to the recruiter what kind of person I want. The recruiter goes find a bunch of people from the list of resumes, sends them to me, and I said, yes, you found the right kind of person, or no, you really didn't. That's not what I'm thinking of. I mean, people like this, okay? So the key thing there is that, yes, everyone says you need to be at the top of the list, like be the first to apply. That's an often said thing in this industry. It is true. You want to be among the first to apply. I grant that. However, many times, because of this dynamic between a hiring manager and a recruiter where they don't see eye to eye, the recruiter might just end up dumping a bucket of resumes and say, okay, forget those, let's start fresh, let's go to the next bucket and see what's there. So just because you missed the first boat that left that set sail doesn't mean that you're done. I've many times I have to go further, deeper and deeper into the pile of resumes to get to the ones that I really care about. So it's important to be early, but it's not the end all and be all. And then I'll say that the last thing is I'll talk about interviews just a little bit because I think that's so critical. A hiring manager really is worried about risk, right? Because if they hire the wrong person, it's a blemish on their reputation. So that's why hiring managers go with the safe bet way often than someone who is kind of out there but has a lot of potential. And as a job applicant, I believe it's one of the most frustrating things. You're like, I have the skills, I have the passion, I want this job, I know I can do it, but I just don't have the perfect job title for that job. And guess what? I feel really bad, but you're probably not going to get that job because there's 20 other people, 50 other people with that job title that is already a good fit for that job. So if you're among the people who want to change your career, either in terms of seniority or in terms of industry or in terms of role, you have to find it through a network. Like I've just coached so many people who tried to make a big change. They're applying. They sent out 500 applications and wondering why they got no bites at all, not even an interview. It's because they're trying to do something in a way that just won't work. So the only time a hiring manager will take a risk is if they got a referral from somebody, their friend or some colleague say, hey, I know this guy. I know he doesn't have the job title, but like he is awesome for you. So you have to think about it from their perspective, because they don't want to take a risk on someone who has to be let go in 6 months because they couldn't do the job. They'll pick the person with the same job title rather than anybody else. So I want to stop there. I know I dumped a lot on you guys in terms of what is a recruiter and a hiring manager's mindset. Is there anything that you want me to clarify, or is there anything that you think would be helpful if you understood a bit more?
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah, that's a densely compacted speech. So anybody have any questions for Chester? I'll go ahead. Crystal.
I was just going to say that last thing you said just kind of resonated with me because I hadn't really given this a lot of thought. But what you said about wanting to change industries, titles, positions, whatever, doesn't happen without a referral. And I never looked at it this way, but years ago, when I finally made the transition from business analyst to project manager, because I'd been working a lot of roles as an IT business analyst, except I always served as the PM as well, except I didn't have a PMP, I didn't have the title. And so even though I had been doing the work, I just didn't have those two things that companies were looking for. So even if I applied, showed them my resume, showed them the experience, they were stuck on stupid about that you were only hired as a BA. It really wasn't until a recruiter who had placed me at my last contract, one of my last entertainment roles at Disney. I come out of that role and he had asked me while we were looking for a new role, he said, why have you never applied for project manager roles? And I told him what I just told you. Don't have the title, don't have the PMP. And he said, you know what? I'm going to help you make that transition. And it wasn't until he found a company that he knew he could place me at, that they weren't going to care whether or not my title said BA, that if Lee said she's good money, she's good money. And he placed me there as a PM, and I have not looked back since. My role at Disney was my very last BA role, and I have not had to look back since. It only took one person. So that just resonated for me. And I just, until now, had never really realized that's what he did for me.
Wow, thanks for sharing that, Crystal. It is so true. Referrals are really the key if you want to change anything. Of course, even if you want to keep the same role, it's still better, way better than nothing. So yeah, one thing I will share about this dynamic at workplace. So whenever I post a job, and most companies have a referral bonus. They'll pay a couple of $1,000s for any employee who refers somebody they know, right, into the pipeline, and that person gets hired. So anytime that I had a job posted, I would have random people from across the company say, Chester, hey, I know my cousin, my friend, my XYZ, who might be a fit for you. And they're doing it, A, to help their friend or whoever, and B, they might get a referral bonus. They're not shy about that. Who wouldn't want to turn down $2,000 or $3,000, right? Now, the consequence of that is, as a good colleague, I would never, if someone referred anybody to me, I would never just ignore them. That's just unprofessional. I would always look at the resume of that person, even for a brief while. So what I'm telling you is that any referral you get, no matter how weak it is, right? You don't have to be someone's best friend. You can just kind of know that person. They want to refer you because they can get a bonus. But if you get referred, the hiring manager is looking at you, not the recruiter, but the hiring manager. And I tell you, that is worth its weight in gold. Anytime you can get the hiring manager to look at you, you have now bypassed a recruiter, because the recruiter is trying to block people out, right? I mentioned that before. So that is always my go-to whenever possible. Go to the hiring manager or find someone who knows the hiring manager. Because if you can bypass the recruiter, you have just jumped the line in front of 100 other people, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can get to the hiring manager, you pretty much aced yourself into the position. Yeah, good advice. Anybody else have any questions? You guys are quiet today. It's Friday. It's 4 o'clock.
Should I go ahead and stop the recording? Adam?
Yeah, go ahead, stop recording.